So if you're currently between 30 and 40% body fat and you've decided to get lean, one of the questions that naturally comes up is, what is the timeline? How long does it actually take to go from 30 or 35% body fat down to a lean, healthy physique at around 15% body fat? And in this video, I'm gonna give you that realistic timeline, and I'm also gonna point out a couple of really big mistakes that you need to avoid, especially if you've never been lean before. Now, diving into it, one of the first things that I have to bring up is that most guys getting into this journey underestimate how much body fat they have to lose, and they overestimate how much muscle they have. So when a guy says that he's 20 or 22% body fat, he has 8-9 weeks to go to see his abs, he's typically 30% body fat or even higher. So most guys will be operating on the wrong timeline with the wrong expectations. And I've especially seen this to be the case with those who don't have that much weight training experience. And sadly, that's most people. I've seen dozens of DEXA scans of guys you would never suspect are at 30% body fat. Guys in their 30s who weigh 185 pounds, about 84 kilos, who are 5'10", 178 centimeters tall. So that's not a lot of weight for them. But DEXA comes back and puts them at 29 or 30% body fat. And they're usually pretty surprised when they see that result because they weren't expecting it. So it's not just the excess body fat that's driving the percentage to go so high. It's also the lack of lean muscle mass, which is something that most people aren't even thinking about. So if you've never been lean before, which is the case again for most people, you want to mentally prepare yourself for a longer journey ahead of you. Let's take Joe for example. Joe is 40 years old, he's 5'10", 178 centimeters tall, he weighs 200 pounds, about 91 kg, at 30% body fat. Joe has never really gotten into the whole gym thing. He's done a little bit of lifting back in college, some stuff over the years, but he's never really taken it that seriously. Joe is looking at losing at least 35 to 40 pounds, which is 16 to 18 kg, until he can start seeing some of his abs. Maybe he has to lose even more. And because he's new to the whole process, he's going to be making mistakes along the way. So if he's losing at about 1 pound or half a kilo per week, on average consistently, every single week, he's looking at about 7, 8, 9 months until he reaches that goal. That is the reality. When you're doing this for the first time, there's a lot you need to learn about how your body works. But eventually, once you hit that goal, you're going to know your numbers. You're going to know your calories and macros and how to adjust them over time. You're going to know which foods to eat that help you create that calorie deficit and sustain it over time. You're going to know your step count, your training. You're going to have a process and a system in place. You have data to work with. And that comes with experience. And this is another reason why it takes longer, because there's a lot to learn. But the thing is, the time is going to fly by anyway. Think about the last 6 months or the last year of your life. It flew by so quickly. And in the grand scheme of things, this goal of reaching a certain body fat percentage is just a milestone on your overall fitness journey. The most important goal is to create a sustainable, healthy lifestyle, to build habits, to master consistency. And even if it takes you a bit longer, you keep going at your own pace until you reach a point where you can't imagine your life without eating a healthy diet, without taking your walks, without lifting weights, and without taking care of your health. Now let's talk about mistakes. And the first one that comes to mind is something I call gradual degradation. And to explain this, I want to go back to our buddy Joe. So Joe starts his fitness journey and he's very motivated. He dives into it, he's tracking his calories and macros, he's creating a calorie deficit, he's getting his steps in, he's hitting the gym regularly, and doing his best to stay consistent. And it's working. He's losing weight, he's getting stronger, and he's feeling much better. But slowly over time, Joe starts drifting off course. He's having a couple more drinks on the weekends, he's not planning his meals as he used to before, he's forgetting to hit the like button on my videos, snacks start creeping in between the meals, and at first, Joe is rationalizing it. It's not a lot, it's not gonna ruin all his progress, it's only this one time, it's not a big deal, and realistically, it isn't. You skip tracking your calories for a few days, not a problem. Have a little bit more food, all good. These are not things that are just gonna ruin all your progress in one day. But what ends up happening is that this gradual degradation starts becoming a habit. And Joe is no longer as sharp with his calorie intake like he used to be. Now he's getting hungrier because he's no longer eating the foods that kept him full. He's no longer weighing foods as much because he doesn't think it's necessary. He's relying more on takeout and convenience. And before you know it, Joe is stuck. He's not making any more progress. And this is a classic example of how gradual degradation destroys your progress. It doesn't happen overnight. It's when you gradually move away from the fundamentals that got you the results in the first place. And these are very subtle actions. They're hard to notice day by day, but they accumulate over time, and then you have a problem. So what can you do about this? Well, the key to overcoming gradual degradation is to keep mastering the basics. Same as elite football players still do their drills. NBA players still practice the most basic maneuvers. If you notice that you're drifting away and you're struggling with seeing progress, always go back to the basics. Even at the highest level of success, fundamentals account for most of the progress we make. Now, another mistake that I see hold a lot of people back is not learning how to play both offense and defense with fat loss. Here's what I mean by this. Think of your offense as controlling your calorie intake, logging your foods, macros, hitting your step count, lifting 3-4 times per week, and all the things you do to generate that fat loss. And then you have your defense. And that's how you handle mistakes and slip-ups. Because most progress on the fitness journey is lost when one slip-up is allowed to escalate. So when one cheat meal turns into a cheat day, that cheat day turns into a cheat week, and sometimes even a cheat month. And to address this, what I found really helpful is to have rules and heuristics in place for what I'm gonna do after I make that first mistake. And one of my favorite rules is inspired by the world of financial trading. A good trader knows when to apply a stop loss to limit their losses and lock in profits. And we could do something similar when we're getting leaner. For example, let's say it's Saturday and you have a slip up and you eat 1,000 calories more than you planned. When this happens, there's a tendency to stay off track, and that's really where a lot of damage is done. But what if instead of you thinking, screw it, I already ruined the day, may as well go all in, I'm gonna start fresh on Monday, you remember the stop loss rule, you apply it, and you prevent yourself from losing more progress. The mindset is, I had my fun, it's time to move on. Because anybody can make an honest mistake, but it's how you handle yourself after that first mistake has been made that determines your results. And let's quickly run the numbers on this. Let's say your original goal was to create a 3,500 calorie deficit per week to lose 1 pound or half a kilo of body fat. You ate 1,000 calories extra that Friday, so now you have a 2,500 calorie deficit remaining for the week. So instead of continuing to eat more, you applied the stop loss and you locked in the 2,500 calorie deficit for the week. And that means that you're still going to lose 3/4 of a pound or 1/3 of a kilo of fat that week, which is really solid progress. So if you make a mistake, not all hope is lost. It happens. You don't want to let a bad meal or a bad day distract you from all the progress you made. You minimize the damage and you continue moving forward. And as you gain more experience, you're also going to get better at de-escalating the slip-ups. Imagine that every time you fell off, you had a stop loss and you ate only 300 calories extra. Even if you fall off 2-3 times per week, you'd still be able to lose body fat and eventually get to your goal. Now, the other thing that's going to help you get to your goal is making sure hit that subscribe button below. Details for coaching, if you want to work with me on your fitness journey, are in the description below, so check those out as well. And I'm going to see you in my next video.